Ballgame, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things basketball across North Jersey. We are in the thick of it. Jambo, and we will continue on. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by my illustrious panel of North Jersey basketball insiders, starting with the co-host, the man that this show is named after. He is Richie Ballgame Barton. What's going on, Richie B?
Corey K. Doviak, what's happening? Talking Jambo, round 16, best time of the year. Can't wait to get this going.
Look at you, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, fresh from your adventure at the...
It's been about a year and a half.
Right.
Finally had some energy.
Yes, but fresh from your adventure covering Jambo games at Bergen Field. So what if your lights didn't work and your photos were horrible? You put in a shift, man.
I did put in a shift. I got to see a great game between Ridgefield Park and Tenafly. I got to see, Englewood playing really well against Elmwood Park. I can't wait to get going this weekend.
Yes, well, a great guest to have on this show this week would be the guy who won that crazy game over there at Bergen Field High School this past weekend. And it just so happens, with a stroke of luck, we welcomed him back with open arms after he had kept us at arm's length for the better part of 3 seasons. But listen, we hold no grudges. We welcomed him back. We talked about his streak of 8 wins in 10 games to get into the Jambo. We accepted his invite to come back again this week. Little did we know that the game of the week would have been Ridgefield Park against Tenafly. And back with us, the Ridgefield Park head coach, Chris Gaskin. What's going on, Chris?
Wow, man. I thought that you had asked me to become a full-time co-host. Now, all of a sudden, it's like I'm something special. And you talking about Richie Barton, like bad pictures and bad lighting. It's same Richie, different year. What the heck's the difference?
Right.
You should have saw me trying to walk into that gym. Oh, my God. It took about 25 minutes.
Well, he is the only guy.
In all honesty, I know you guys are doing a great job, and I'm happy to be back, and we can duplicate our performance from last week.
Yes. Hey, we got a lot of great feedback about the show last week, and we do have to clear up a couple odds and ends that were brought to our attention. Now, first of all, Dan Egero did not complain about his seed. I mentioned on last week's show that there was somebody close to the Cresskill program, whose name I did not mention, that was upset that the Cresskill Cougars, the undefeated Cresskill Cougars, were number 6. He thought they should have been as high as number 4. And I put that out there last week. I guess I should have realized that people would directly point their finger to Dan Egero, the head coach. Not the case. Dan Egero is a first-year head coach. He assured me that he was thrilled with his place in the seedings and that the unnamed source from last week did not represent his views. Now, anybody who knows me and where I come from and who I may have gone to high school with might have an inkling of an idea who the unnamed source might be. But again, it will remain nameless. I will not directly state anybody's name from the class of Leonia High School in 1992. I'm not going to do it here. So that's one. Chris Gaskin, I understand that you also would like to send out some thank yous for listening to last week's show. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Special shout-out to Mr. Hank Teal, Bergen County legend. Thought the show was great. And also, from what I understand, a friend of yours, maybe Leonia class of 92, a friend of mine, a one-time great coach, just a good guy. I believe he's the superintendent of schools in Cresskill. Mr. Mike Burke really enjoyed the show as well. So really glad to hear that some people enjoyed it.
Yes. and Mike Burke, yes, he might have been Leonia High School class of 1992. So, all right, all that being said, we're going to talk Jambo this week, and we got to start, Chris, with your game.
Whoa.
And I am going to be quiet because it was the game of the weekend in the opening round. Richie B was there. You coached in it. So, Richie B, talk about it and then ask some questions.
Well, coming off a blowout loss against Englewood right right before the Jambo. I guess I was on Thursday night. You know, Ridgefield Park, you kind of didn't know what to expect coming in. What?
It was Tuesday. We had a few days to think about that one.
Yeah, and then Richie B congratulates you on your biggest win of the year by telling you how you got beat by 30 by Englewood. But continue, Rich.
I didn't know what to expect coming in, and they come out of the gate fine. I mean, they are both ends of the floor, knocking down shots, ton of energy, jump out to a 14-0 lead, and we're in control for pretty much the entire first half up until about the last 90 seconds. And then Tenafly kind of double-digit lead down to 7. A bad shot here, turnover there. Tenafly cuts it down to 7, and that gave the Tigers some momentum coming out of the locker room, and they used that to take the lead 3 minutes into the third quarter. Chris, what did you tell the team at halftime, and what's going through your mind as Tenafly facing that?
Well, yeah, obviously, like anything else, at halftime we were happy with the position we were in. I told the guys going into the game, hey, let's be honest. A lot of people question the strength of our schedule and the validity of our positioning being in the tournament. Yeah, and I think they really bought into that. We got off to a great start, but I'm a big believer in respect your opponents, and I told them repeatedly it's a good team, obviously well coached by a very good friend of mine, Jeff Kohler, and as time went on, little by little, I knew they were going to chip their way back into it. So when we went in at the half, it was just, hey, listen, we're up 7, we're in a good spot, but you got to understand this team is going to make a run. You have to be able to accept that, and you have to be able to, move on after it happens. And they certainly made their run. The kid Dean Kaburski came out, knocked down 4 threes in the third quarter, and the game certainly changed. And from there, it was a possession-by-possession game for both teams. And I'll let Richie continue because I'm sure it's his show. Let him continue.
I detect he's getting a little sensitive over there. Hey, listen, you're you're an official host of the Jambo show for the rest of the duration, pal. Okay, all right. Go ahead, Richie B.
Poor Coach Gaskin.
Wait, what did Hank Teal say, Chris? Exactly. Can we get a direct quote of what Hank Teal said?
Hank Teal said, "Those guys broke your chops real good," in Hankey's tone of voice.
Continue, Richie.
Well, the key was really Jonas Espinal, because not only did he make a couple big baskets, a turnaround jumper from 17 feet, and then a three-pointer with 2:08 to go that broke the tie and gave him a 52-49 lead, but he seemed to do a little bit of everything. He had one big steal, grabbing big rebounds in traffic. He had one particular play where it looked like Tenafly was going to grab the rebound, and he was able to, leap over a defender and knock it back and keep possession for the Scarlets. He did all those little intangible things, but Tenafly kept coming. And next thing you know, they tie the game, they get the ball back, and you had, I believe, 14 fouls at the time. There were about 30 seconds left, and Tenafly was going to, clearly hold for the last shot of regulation. And, did you talk to the guys about that situation? Like, hey, we got a foul, and then, because you had to kind of communicate to them on the court as opposed to in a timeout.
Let me make that.
Yeah,
let me make that a little bit shorter. Hey, Chris, did you coach in the last few seconds of a tie game?
I try. Listen, I'm not John Wooden. I'm not some other people for sure, but I try. I have a great assistant coach, James Mazzarisi. He's been my right hand man for years, very good friend as well, and I'm very fortunate to have him at my side as well. But yeah, we told the kid, look, here's basically. I want to go back. You talk about Jonas Espinal. Jonas wasn't at practice the day before. He was on his official visit to American International. They offered him a full football scholarship. And the relationship I have with him. That night, Friday night, when he got home with his family, it was a great visit for them. They were very happy. So look, you owe me. You weren't here yesterday. You got to come and play. And again, he's part of he's a legacy in a sense with his brother playing for us in the past. And I've known him since he was in the third grade. He's like, Coach, I'll give you my best. I promise you. And I think there was the second half. He was the best. I don't say he's the best basketball player on the floor in the second half, but he was certainly the best athlete. He was everywhere. He is, between rebounding, handling, playing defense, hitting some shots. I mean, coming into the game, I think he was 9 for 24 from the foul line. He went 7 for 9 in the game. So he stepped up in a way in which a kid of his stature should step up in those types of games. As far as the end of the game situation, we actually had the ball with 45 seconds left. We called a side out of bounds play for Alex Willoughby, and I said, if Alex doesn't get the shot, let's try to hold for one. Jonas got the ball and he drove to the basket and scored. And afterwards he said, "Oh, I forgot you said that." So that's when he screwed everything up. And Tenafly got the ball back. And we knew we had 2 fouls to give. So actually, after Jonas missed his shot, Tenafly called a timeout. So in the huddle, we said, "Look, we have 2 fouls to give. Listen for us to call it." So they brought the ball up over half court, took about 12, 13 seconds off. We reached in, then we made them throw the ball in again. It took 2 or 3 seconds off the clock. We reached in, so there were 9 seconds left in the game, and they had the ball at half court.
And I'll take it from there. 9.4 seconds, they inbound the ball, and it just took a little fumble of a dribble. Tenafly was able to keep possession for a second, but it allowed your guards to rotate a little bit quicker, and Hector Di Lorenzo was able to sneak in from behind to get the steal. I think he thought there was only, maybe a second left, because as soon as he crossed half court, he hoisted up a half-court shot with 4 seconds left still on the clock. But that allowed time for, the ball to carry him off the rim, and all of a sudden, David Feliz, while there was all that ball watching, David Feliz hustled to the corner to track it down and was fouled on the play with no time left. Did you think there was any time left? Did you think he was able to turn around and get the shot? Did you think it was a foul? Just talk about all the emotions.
Yeah, well, believe me, we've talked about this. My phone never stopped ringing Saturday, Sunday. When they threw the ball in with 9 seconds left, of course we were concerned about Johnny Angbazo and Antonio Bonilla. But David Feliz, who, we have to remind all the time to stay with his man. He even laughed about it. He said, I tried all day to stay with my man. It was the one time that I knew I had to go run and jump. And he just left and ran and jumped. He forced the turnover. And as the ball was on the ground, Hector Di Lorenzo flew inside of him, and Hector picked up the loose ball. And he said that all he heard was David and Alex telling him, shoot. So he had no idea how much time. And both of those guys said, yeah, we told him to shoot. And David, instead of just standing there watching the shot, he kept running. And as the ball came off the backboard, he jumped up for the rebound, and so did, I believe, Angbazo. And when David caught it, Angbazo kind of, knocked him out of bounds. And, I didn't expect it to be called, to be quite honest with you. And all of a sudden I see the one referee with his hand up, and, we started running towards the baseline. He's got a foul. And the referee walked right to the scores table and called the foul. Do I think it's a foul? What do you want me to tell you? I'm not going to be an apologist for my team. I feel we played hard enough and well enough to win the game. Did I not tell Jeff Kohler he's a better man than me because I might have been taken out of the gym in handcuffs if that call was made against my team? Certainly. There were people that, it's a big Bergenfield gym. People on one end of the gym were shocked that they would call it. People on the end of the gym in which the call were made, including people from Tenafly, told me, yeah, we think it was a foul. But I think I'm in agreement with everybody. Maybe it was a foul. Very difficult time to make that call. And, maybe that's me being Switzerland in a sense. But, it might have been a foul. It probably was a foul. But again, and I credit Jeff so much for how he handled it with his comments afterwards. A lot of people, including myself and many other friends of mine in the coaching profession, certainly we'll call it a profession, certainly would not have handled it the way in which Jeff Kohler did. And, that definitely, I have an incredible amount of respect for him. But even with that being said, I don't know if it was a foul because I'm just listening to what a lot of people had to say. All I know is a foul was called, and that's all that's going to be remembered.
Well, Richie B., you were there. What did you see?
It's a weird thing because by the letter of the law, if you're going to make a call, 30 seconds into a game and you want to call it consistently the whole way through, that's a foul. I thought it was a pretty clear foul. I thought it was pretty clear that it was before the buzzer. Did I think Feliz, from where he was in the deep corner, was going to get a shot off? No, he had his back to the basket. There's no way he could have collected the ball, turned around, and even got the shot off let alone a good shot. The weird thing about I think it was the correct call, but it just looked bad because of how it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, Richie, you're in the minority with that. I think it was the correct call. I'm not saying. I'm happy.
No, but yeah, but
I don't think in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people thought it was the right call. But the call was made, and these guys have a tough enough job. These guys have a tough enough job. I would never want to do it.
Oh, well,
but
listen,
if you're gonna ref by the letter of the law, that's a foul.
Yeah.
And while it's not the popular call, and I don't know, a lot of people would say, well, let's just go to overtime and let him handle it. The only thing I had a problem with is he called it, pretty much went right to the table and signaled, foul on, number blah blah blah, 2 shots. As soon as you do that, that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, and listen, if it's again, I give the referee a ton of credit. I mean, except for Nick Brown, I will take the back of any referee on this show, because if it's a foul, as Richie said, 30 seconds in, then it's a foul with point whatever left in the game, and give the guy credit for having the guts to call the foul. Now, you could probably debate
decision, but it was the right call.
Yes, and you could debate 30 other calls in that game, I'm sure, as well. So it doesn't, as we all know, it never comes down to one play. Sure, the down and distance was a little wacky for it to be called, but it is what it is. Now, we can do this all day, for sure. And everybody's going to have their own opinion, and we're not going to change anybody's mind. If you were wearing red that day, you thought it was a foul. If you were wearing black and orange, then you thought that it wasn't a foul. Listen, that's sports. But as Chris said, the class act that is Jeff Kohler, the Tenafly head coach, and I will read this quote directly from the story written by our very own Richie Ballgame. That was a tough call, but there are other situations where we didn't take advantage of opportunities we had. We had a few possessions in the fourth quarter where we couldn't score in a tie game or up 2. More importantly, we had the ball with 9 seconds left where we could either take the last shot or go to overtime. Give Ridgefield Park credit, though. They forced a turnover in that situation and made big plays throughout the game whenever we started to make a run. That is the way you handle a situation like that. Now, he could walk into his locker room. I don't know what he said when he got in there. And knowing Jeff, he probably didn't say it. But he could have walked into his locker room and told his kids, you just got screwed. We just got knocked out of the Jambo. And he would have been well within his rights to have done so. But to a reporter, to anybody, to a parent, to anybody else who's in that gym, when passions are that hot, that is exactly what you say, and then you go into the locker room and coach your team. So there is no bigger class act than Jeff Kohler for the way that situation was handled. So that's my 2 cents.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. All right. That was the best game of round 1. Let's mention a couple others. Now, last week I saved us in the nick of time. We almost went over the 45-minute limit that the software, holds us to here without restarting a new program. Not that it's a big deal. But we could talk about all these first-round games because it was a fun Saturday. But let's just pick out a couple, and then we'll move on to previewing the round of 16 coming up this weekend, too. And there are a couple issues that I have with that. But anyway, Riverdale-Bogota. Riverdale, I was at that game. Riverdale jumped out to an early lead. Bogota did a good job of not completely getting blown out and fighting into the second half. But Riverdale moves on. They'll play Bergen Catholic. Demarest against Lyndhurst. Richie B., what do you want to say about that one?
Well, Jake Runyon, 41. I mean, what else do you say about that? One of the highest scoring outputs in the history of the 62 years of the Jamboree.
Yep.
Lyndhurst, very scrappy, hung around early, banked into 3 to cut it to 5, I believe, midway through the second quarter. But Demarest, just too much. They had no answer for Runyon, and Demarest, it was a dangerous team. They have size. They have a little bit of athleticism. If they could take care of the ball and knock down some shots, who knows?
Yes, Demarest, Dwight Englewood. Dwight Englewood cruised past Mawa in the 9:24 game, so it's Northern Valley Demarest, Mawa. St. Mary, New Milford in the 13:20 game. Now, I was interested in that. I went to the first 2 games at Bergen Catholic. St. Mary, New Milford was the third one, and I went in there with the mindset of saying, listen, I got a lot of work to do. I got 2 stories to write. I have, a bunch of things to do before whatever. So I'm going to give St. Mary, New Milford a shot. And if it's a blowout at halftime, I'm leaving. Story to follow that never follows. Anyway, New Milford, better than I expected. Hung around. I mean, for a Group 1 school, I don't know if I can remember a physically stronger Group 1 team than this one. And even I wrote it in my story talking to Brian Gassione, the St. Mary head coach, who turned down an invitation for the second straight week to be on the show. You're talking to him after the game, he was like, the quarterback is good, the tight end is good. And it's so true when you look at New Milford. They look like a football team out there playing basketball, but they're tough. They played tough defense. St. Mary was able to get it going in its direction when it was able to speed up the game, and then also when Ryan Picnic fouled out late for New Milford hurt them too. But take nothing away from St. Mary. Mark Danica was outstanding, I thought. Nick Boyd was outstanding. They got some good contributions from some other guys like Colin Highland. And St. Mary's moving on to take on Teaneck. Ramsey, Lodi, Richie, we had no coverage at Indian Hills, so let's just say that Ramsey moved on. The 12 seed will play Ramapo, the 5.
Yeah, jumped out early. Ramsey just has. Well, we'll talk about Ramsey in a second when we preview the round of 16.
Yes, then
Indian Hills was a major story to follow site, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Indian Hills. ... Coming soon.
Story to follow.
Yeah, story.
Maz was the story to follow. That's for sure.
Yeah, listen, that's the second.
Maz called you out on the story to follow right after the game.
All right,
he did.
I am going to call Maz out here now. The esteemed assistant coach at Ridgefield Park High School. Now, he does the Twitter account for the RP Scarlets Hoops?
No.
I thought you blamed him for putting at Varsity Aces in front of at NJS Comp because there's a boycott.
That was my fault.
Okay. Because there'll be no retweeting. That goes for everybody. If Varsity Aces before NJS Comp, there's no retweeting. Let's move on here. Ridgefield Park, Tenafly, we talked about that one ad nauseum. And then Rutherford Westwood, which was a great game, fun to cover. Rutherford, again, a team I hadn't seen going into the game. Good. It was exactly what you expected. Low scoring, possession by possession, tough defense, lots of Division I football players running around there with Joe Kramer from Westwood and Lawson Fisher from Rutherford. Rutherford was a big part, big story this football season when they won the state sectional championship. Lawson Fisher was a big part of that. He appeared on the show a couple times on our football show. And it was back and forth until Westwood was just able to make a couple more plays down the stretch. Colin Liddy, their 1,000-point scorer, made 3 3-pointers in the third quarter, which, he scored all 9 of their points on 3 3-pointers in the third quarter to keep them afloat. Santulli, is that John Michael Santulli's son, Chris?
Yes, it is.
I should have asked that question.
And that's an interesting in its own right because I was speaking with Nicky DeBarry tonight. Nick's son plays for him, and John Michael's son plays for him. So, and those guys are really good friends. And they actually, I know they've discussed, the difference of coaching when you're coaching a team compared to coaching a team with your son, which obviously brings in its own different spin on things.
Yes. And so the younger Santulli hit a huge 3-pointer to put Westwood ahead late in the game, actually in the fourth quarter, and they maintained the lead the rest of the way. So, Rutherford had its opportunities. You can go read the story on NorthJerseySports.com. Nicky DeBarry gave us some great quotes about what he thought the difference was in that game, and Westwood is moving on. They will get the spot opposite 6-seeded Cresskill this Saturday, undefeated Cresskill still. So then we had Dwight Morrow, Elmwood Park. Richie, the 10th seeded.
Wait a second. Cresskill superintendent. He graduated Leonia class of 92?
Class of 1992, yes.
just checking, okay.
A member of the 1992 Leonia basketball team that went all the way to the Bergen County Jamboree semifinals. And I don't think they've been back since to the Jambo, maybe once or twice. Oh, when they had
they definitely went to the Jambo, but they have not been. I don't know if they've won a game in the Jambo.
What was his name?
And
the 2,000 point scorer.
Big BC Eagle fan too. Boston College. Come on.
Yes.
Like Michael Adams, one of my favorites of all time. But anyway,
All right, Richie, you want to give a quick word on Dwight Morrow, Elmwood Park? That was a blowout from the tap.
Yeah, I mean, Dwight. Let me tell you something about not Dwight Englewood, Dwight Morrow. I mean, that is a team over the past couple of years that has been real athletic, and they like to have a lot of chaos, and they would always be dangerous but could never really get over the hump. This team, I feel they're going to get over the hump. You know why? Because they defend, and when you get them into a half-court set, they really run it through. I mean, I was incredibly impressed on how poised they were, and they did not take the first available shot, and they kept running through until their second, third, fourth option, and all of a sudden you get a wide open and even better shot or a layup. I mean, Leo Jones, in his first year as head coach there, is doing a tremendous job, and I apologize to Leo because I told him I would have him as a guest on the show tonight, and then next thing you know, we're going on, and I totally forgot. So, if he gets a win this week, we will have him on. That's a guarantee. But Dwight Morrow is a dangerous team moving forward. They have a bunch of guys that could shoot it. They don't have great size, but, I mean, they are really active inside. And, I mean, let's put it this way. George Garrison is really, probably the number one scoring option, number one or number two scoring option. He had 6 points. And
No. I'm going to stop you right now because I have nightmares about Owen Roberts and the guards they have. Martini Martin, and then off the bench, Maceo Robinson. George Garrison's a tremendous athlete all around, but they have a lot of scores. But I don't think he's their number one go-to guy.
They're not a one-man show. But my point is that he could have 6 points and they just bomb a team by 30 plus. Owen Roberts, by the way, is one of the more underrated players in Bergen County. I mean, you want to talk about a kid who is just all over the floor, both ends, really does it all. I couldn't be more impressed with Owen Roberts, and I think he's going to be a matchup problem for anyone moving forward.
He doesn't miss a lot of shots. I'll tell you that. Smooth lefty stroke from the outside, and he slashes from the inside. Without a doubt,
that's the thing.
He's a matchup problem for a lot of people.
Richie B, I've never heard you so hyped up about Dwight Morrow basketball in my entire life. Where have you been?
I couldn't be more impressed. And Martini Martin, is a dangerous guard. Drew Tyre, underrated. Doesn't really shoot a lot, but handles the ball a lot. Doesn't turn it over. I mean, really, again, though, going back to Roberts.
Going back to Roberts.
I love him. Man. That kid's a player.
Richie B loves Englewood basketball so much.
I've been coaching long enough now. I coached when Leo Jones was in high school, and you talk about a great athlete. I mean, on the basketball court, football field, he was their quarterback when they had some very good teams. He could throw the ball 75 yards in the air. I mean, a really good athlete and just as good a person. Really impressed with everything that Leo's done over there. I have to agree with everything that you're saying.
Oh, my God. It's an Englewood love fest over here. And we love Englewood so much that we forgot to call the coach to have him on the show. Wow. That's great. All right.
Terrible job by me.
Tell me again.
See, Leo Jones doing a great job. Richie B, consistently. Bad job for like 20 years now.
Richie B, Owen Roberts, good or not good? All right, the other quote-unquote upset of the first round would have been number 18, Bergen Tech, beating Pascack Valley. But, talking to a lot of people before the opening round, a lot of people thought that was a dangerous matchup for Pascack Valley. Congratulations for Bergen Tech getting that done as the number 18 seed and playing right into number 2, Don Bosco Prep this weekend. All right, that's the first round, done and dusted. Let's move on to the second round here. And we don't have to break down every game in its entirety, but we should.
You don't have to break down Ridgefield Park Hackensack. Let's not worry about that one.
Correct. I'll just say take Hackensack. I wasn't going to say that. But in all honesty, Chris, listen, You got a thrilling win in the Jambo that your kids are going to remember. That's their Jambo experience. And listen, not saying crazier things that have happened in the world of sports than Ridgefield Park going out and beating Hackensack. But
listen,
no matter what happens, your kids have had their Jambo moment.
We're gonna give it everything we got. But the reason I say that is because there's a lot more intrigue with some other games, and
yes.
I'm totally like, hey, let's go see what we can do here. Let's see what we can talk to the people about.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to talk to the committee about. Now, you can't schedule. I know that there was an issue with scheduling where this round of 16 usually takes place over 2 days. Traditionally, Northern Highlands on Saturday, Tenafly on Sunday. You have a shot to get to it. You can go to 8 games.
Can I
if you want. Yes, I will give. I will give you the floor. I know that you are the defender. You are the liaison to the Bergen County Coaches Association on the basketball side, and you will have ample time. So
the reason being is because of FDU's schedule, and so if they couldn't because on the Saturday game FDU is playing. Actually, on the Sunday FDU is hosting a TV game. So therefore, instead of having all the games on one day and then forcing teams to maybe have to try to reschedule some games, it was the best way to work it out this way. I mean, I think there was a lot of thought put into having the games played on Saturday. Therefore, later in the week, when teams have to play on Friday night, the teams that advance are going to play on Friday night, that they might be able to move their Thursday games to Wednesday and so on and so forth to give them the opportunity to prepare for the game.
I was going to give you the floor to make that explanation. You were very excited about it, so I let you continue. But my point is not, I understand scheduling conflicts. FDU, I love games at the Rothman Center. So much better than Ramapo College that I was not even going to complain. What I was going to say, though, is when you put the games together. Now, if you pick the best 3 games of what should be the best 3 games of this round of 16, number 6 Cresskill against number 11 Westwood. The 8-9 game between Northern Valley Demarest and number 9 Dwight Englewood, which should be the closest game. One is played at 11 o'clock at Northern Highlands. The other one's played at 12 o'clock in Tenafly. Now, we couldn't have switched it around a little bit. I mean, no disrespect to Riverdale, but I don't expect that to be a great game against Bergen Catholic. Teaneck, depending on personnel, could be interesting against St. Mary's. The other game is the last game on the schedule is Ramapo against Ramsey. What I'm saying is the 3 best games are 11 o'clock in Northern Highlands, 12 o'clock in Tenafly, and then 5:30. We could have done a better job of scheduling so that, listen, for a journalist who wants to get to who can get to 3 games, I want to be able to get to the best 3, and that's just not possible. Richie B, is that correct?
It's correct.
Thank you. Chris, is there anything that you'd like to?
I don't know about the scheduling process. I do know that they try to make sure that nothing conflicts with the girls' tournament and things like that as well. I know they try to make sure that they provide the fans of teams that may have 2 teams playing, and I'm not even sure if that means anything in this situation. But I'm not exactly sure how the whole process of who plays where when they play is selected amongst the Jamboree committee.
Okay. Thank you for that disclaimer.
Well, and how about this for something rare? Ridgefield Park, the only school in Bergen County that will be having both their boys and girls teams playing in county tournaments this weekend. Well, at least in the Jambo and the girls tournament.
Right. That just shoots Gaskin's theory right out the window. No conflicts.
Yep.
I've been a real bad guest this week. I'm sorry.
We only wanted you because you got a lucky break at the buzzer. Come on. Richie B, pick a game in the round of 16. Here we go.
For me, it's there are 2 of them. All right, you want to pick one? Cresco Westwood.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a fun game, and I'm going to be there. I'm excited.
Gaskin, was that the best analysis you've ever heard?
All right, no, it's horrible. I'm just thinking about it. It's horrendous analysis.
That's a big game. It's a great game, and I'm going to be there. This is the worst show in the history of internet and high school sports radio talk.
Richie, couldn't you at least say two teams run their offense well, strong kids, well-structured offense, good defensive teams. They both rebound very well. You know, it's going to be a grinded-out, possession-by-possession type of game.
Oh, that's a good bailout. Gaskin returning the favor with the bailout call and breaking down Cresskill Westwood. I'll take the next one and the next two, Richie B. Obviously, I think that Demarest Dwight Englewood is a very interesting game because this Demarest team has been on a roll as of late. They've got 8 seniors in the rotation. They have a couple of good juniors who contribute as well. This is kind of the year that they've been gearing up for the last 4 of the program. And Dwight Englewood is a team that made that great run last year, lost a kid or two to graduation, another one to a transfer, and what they have left is a little bit of a thinner core, but also real good players with Jordan McCoy and DeBellis. What's DeBellis' first name?
Tony.
Tony DeBellis. And don't forget Judah McIntyre.
I was just going to say, and Judah McIntyre. So you have those 3 guys in the starting lineup. Obviously, the breakdown is it's Demarest's depth against Dwight Englewood's, top of their rotation.
I'm gonna interrupt you real quick from speaking as somebody close to the Demarest program. Runyon had a sprained ankle, and I think he missed a bunch of games. And as a whole, they feel as if that helped the program because some other guys stepped up into different positions and different responsibilities. And now that Runyon's back, they feel as if they're a more complete and a deeper team because of his injury in a sense.
Yeah, and they're big. They can rebound. You got Connor Scaglione handling the boards. I mean, they're as big as anybody in Bergen County. Another off on a tangent here comment. Very encouraged to see all of the multi-sport athletes in this opening round of the Jamboree and even going forward here. As I mentioned before, the Westwood-Rutherford game had a bunch of them. The Milford game had a bunch of them. The Demarest has a bunch of them. Austin Alberici is the quarterback. Connor Scaglione is going to Princeton to play football. Joe Rotundi was a great receiver on that team that went to a state sectional semifinal this year. Multi-sport athletes, and it makes it. And Chris, you have it too. Espinal. It seems like it's starting to make a comeback, and people are starting to understand. I did a great interview with Jason Modak from Wayne Hills. He's the old school 3-sport athlete. He's going to play Division I football, but he plays football, basketball, and baseball. So maybe that is making a comeback here. People coming to their senses about not specializing. Do you feel that way?
I agree. I have 3 of them in my starting lineup with Jonas, Jens Martinez, and Danny Lane. And, I definitely promoted within our guys. And, basketball really has become a sport where too many kids are specializing. Hey, you're only a kid for so many years in your life. You should be trying to do a little bit of everything. And look, I made my feelings known about AAU basketball. There's some positives, but there's a lot of negatives to it. And I also, think that plays into this whole kids specializing. Whereas, you should be playing as many as you possibly can. And the more college coaches who send out those signals that they would prefer to recruit multi-sport athletes, the more kids are going to start reverting back to it.
Yep. I forgot to mention Dave Estevez, too, who had a great game for Riverdale.
Oh, yeah, Captain USA. Come on.
The Magic Man, as he was coined on the football show on NorthJerseySports.com. He scored 6 points right at the beginning of the game and got Riverdale off and running. He scored a game-high 21, too. For a secondary sport, it's actually his 3rd sport because he's the starting shortstop on the baseball team since his freshman year. So, I think that's a positive going forward. Another game, and Chris, I will ask for your expertise here. We know Richie B's feelings about Dwight Morrow. They got a shot against number 7 Ridgewood? I think they do.
I gotta be honest, I have not seen Ridgewood play all year, but okay. I think any given day, Dwight Morrow, when they play well, when they rebound, when they don't turn the ball over, and they make their shots, any given day, they're going to give somebody fits. I think Mike Troy has been a long time in Ridgewood. I know he's got some good players over there. I'm sure they're going to be prepared. I think that's going to be a really good game.
Richie B. Owen Roberts.
The key for Ridgewood, I love Owen Roberts, as you know. But the key for Ridgewood's going to be Mike Schroeder, big guy inside. If he can get, some of their post players into foul trouble, how is Englewood's bench going to, react? Because, I'm not sure depth-wise. I mean, they have some good players on their bench, but if those good players have to play big minutes and long minutes, how do they react in such a pressure-packed situation? Ridgewood's had a solid season.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not. Honestly, I think this is the type of game that's a pick-em game going in. Who controls tempo? It's going to come down to shot selection. Not just. I think Dwight Inglewood's going to have their share of turnovers. I think Ridgewood's going to get to the line a lot. But whoever can really take care of the ball is going to win this game.
Yep.
My analysis is getting worse and worse.
No, I think you said it. I think you said it right there. I mean, and possessions. If it's more possessions, it plays into Dwight Morrow's favor, and if there's less possessions, it plays into Ridgewood's favor. Cresskill, Westwood, we talked about.
It comes down to stealing possessions too. It's going to come down to stealing possessions. Who could get that offensive rebound? Who could dive on that loose ball? Those little things are going to come up huge in a game that is going to be decided by a possession.
Yeah, just if you allow me, I don't really know him very well except to say hello to him, but obviously DJ Nymphius is an incredibly successful football coach at Riverdale, and I've seen him over the years sitting in the stands at a lot of basketball games, and a friend of mine was refereeing there the other day and said that he saw him there, and he said he was charting possessions, and that goes along with what you were just saying. And in that Riverdale-Bogota game, I believe what my friend told me was that Riverdale had 68 possessions and Bogota had 67 possessions. Yet, at the end of the game, didn't Riverdale win by 17?
Yep.
So it goes back to valuing the basketball when you have those possessions. And, like I said, I see Coach Nymphius around. I always say hello to him. But I see him at a lot of basketball games over the years at Riverdale. He always had a notepad with him, and he's a coach, and he's always trying to do something that I think, he could learn from or benefit his program. And on that given day, he was charting possessions, and I think it goes right along with what Richie B was just talking about. In a game like that, both teams are going to have a lot of possessions. Englewood and Ridgewood. I guess it's going to come down to who makes the most of those possessions.
Well, was I the friend who told you about that? Because I had that conversation with DJ Nymphius afterwards. Because he does carry.
You might have been. I thought it was somebody else, but maybe you did tell me that. We do speak occasionally.
Yeah, no, it's a great point because he does and that's what DJ Nymphius. We have him on our football show. He's a great guest. He's really a cerebral approach to coaching and analytics and everything else, and it is interesting. And it's funny because I saw him with the pad, and I said, what were you doing this side? And the reason that I asked that question is because last year, when Riverdale played in the Jamboree, he was charting possessions of the game that would be affected by a 30 or a 35-second shot clock. Which, because of the debate that goes on, should New Jersey adopt the shot clock, he wanted to see how many actual possessions that would affect. And I don't remember who Riverdale played. I can't remember what I had for lunch. I don't remember who they played last year in the opening round. But I think the answer was there were 5 possessions in the game, and 2 of them were late quarter situations where a team was obviously holding for 1. But inside the flow of the game, it was like 2 or 3 possessions that actually would have been affected by the shot clock. So, he does. He has interesting ideas and interesting ways of going about it. The other game I think that we should mention, now listen, we're going to bring the big boys in next week. Bergen Catholic top seed gets going this weekend. Don Bosco Prep gets going this weekend. Hackensack, Teaneck, even though we think Teaneck might have its hands full a little bit with St. Mary this week. So, next week's going to be about them. But, Richie B., there is one other game that you wanted to talk about as a potential upset.
Ramapo Ramsey.
And I can't say it because I could never pick against Ramapo, so you do it.
No. And, I may be persona non grata, despite.
Is that because of 4 feet graphics?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Ramapo has gone out. They've played well all year. Casey Hunt, Jason Oppler, are one of the best 1-2 punches in North Jersey. Ramsey comes with a lot of size though, and how if they can keep Ramapo to 1 shot per possession, and really keep them out of the paint and stay out of foul trouble, of course. You know, this is a game that Ramsey can win if they can really control the tempo, make it a half-court game, and really pound the ball down low.
That's good analysis. I'll give it to you. Here's the only other question I had for you about that game. How many times have you seen Rampo this year?
How many times have you seen anybody?
Well, that's my point. How many times have you seen Ramsey? Now, Ramapo is huge. Andrew Kukura is big. Casey Hunt plays a point forward. He's big. Jason Oppler is a strong two-guard. They have depth.
Casey Hunt has been ducking us in wiffle ball for like 8 years now.
Now, listen, that is absolutely 100% true. He's an outstanding basketball player. He is a Division I baseball player and maybe a potential MLB recruit, but he also chickens out of wiffle ball games, he and his entire family. You're right about that.
I completely agree with you.
All right.
Maybe Shooter would have no shot against us, but let's keep it to basketball.
Yes. Before we fall any further off the cliff here, Chris, anything we're missing about this Bergen County tournament round of 16? And we didn't even get to the reason I wanted to do a show this week is I'm next week on the show, or one time soon, I'm going to unveil my plan. I'm going to make myself king of Bergen County basketball for a day. I am going to fix all the problems that ail us. I have a hard and fast plan to do just that. We obviously wanted to keep to the games this week. We wanted to hear Richie B break down Westwood Cresskill. That was important. So I'm going to keep my notebook full of notes and add to it as the tournament goes along. But one of these weeks...
I think Coach Egero and Coach Santulli learned a lot about their opponents from that breakdown.
We'll see you next week on The Ballgame.
Follow the leader.